them. In terms of the housing assistance program, I see that on WhatsApp especially, there's a lot of things going around about a housing assistance program. Rest assured that the government of Jamaica is going to have a housing assistance program, but what you are seeing is the one from Hurricane Beryl last year. That's not the current one. The current one is being worked out. When you hear me or the Prime Minister or one of the ministers announce it, that's when it is real. But rest assured, like we did with Hurricane Beryl, where we had cash grants to help people to get back on their feet and to reconstruct their homes, there will be something this year. And it will obviously be on a larger scale than what we had with Hurricane Beryl, given the scale of Melissa. So give us a little time to finalize that, finalize the numbers, what it will look like, how you will get access to it. There will be a program, but what you see on WhatsApp is not the program. So just give us a little bit more time for that. All right, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to go to Minister Vaz, who has been asked to co-chair the subcommittee of cabinet that is dealing with the recovery efforts, to give his update. Minister Vaz?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, ministers, permanent secretaries, Jamaica, and the diaspora. So again, I want to update the nation on where we are and assure you once again that restoration is moving steadily forward. Digicel has restored 46% of its mobile sites, with 86% of fixed networks and 75% of business connections now back online. Service was restored in Santa Cruz, Falmouth, Spurtree, Bevan, and Rose Hall within the past 24 hours. I don't need to tell you how huge that is in terms of getting connectivity in those areas. Over the next 2 days, the focus will be on restoring service from Falmouth to Montego Bay, then Montego Bay to Negril. Work is also ongoing in Portmore, Spanish Town, and St. Thomas. Approximately 64% of Flow's fixed sites are now operational, with 40% of customers reconnected, mainly in the urban areas where the power has been restored. Work continues to bring service back in to more affected western and southern parishes. For mobile network, 37% of our sites are up, reaching about 78% of mobile customers. Repairs are focused on the hardest hit parishes, including St. Anne, Hanover, and St. Elizabeth, where several towers were damaged. Neptune Communications, working with Marlink USA, is replacing and relocating damaged satellite units to restore connectivity where it is available. Additional satellite kits are arriving this week to expand coverage. Over the past 48 hours, additional Starlink kits were allocated to organizations providing essential assistance to Jamaica impacted by Melissa. I want us to stop again to thank Starlink, who have a team, an emergency response team, stationed in Jamaica, and are helping to coordinate the Starlink installations. So again, a charitable organization brought 200 mobile Starlink, and Starlink gave the government of Jamaica 400 residential. We are using those residential/commercial. All 400 will be allocated out to government agencies and NGOs by end of day tomorrow. Bearing in mind we just received them on Friday. So we are allocating them according to specifications and needs of the hardest hit parishes. So ODPEM and Ministry of Labor and Social Security would have gotten today, the fire brigade would have gotten today, and a lot of other essential services, too much to name. The Ministry of Health, in close coordination with United Nations Children's Fund, is working to restore connectivity to major hospitals and community health centers. Jamaican government, the Jamaica Red Cross and international NGOs are also using connectivity provided by Starlink to distribute food, water, and sanitation supplies, basic household items, and children's activity kits. The Starlink devices have been used to establish connectivity for community Wi-Fi points. So remember, we have hundreds of community Wi-Fi sites that were put in by the Universal Service Fund, which falls under my ministry. So we're working with Starlink now to get those back up so that communities, especially remote communities, will have community Wi-Fi to be able to communicate with their families, etc. So to close on Starlink, I today distributed between today and tomorrow before Parliament starts. All the members of Parliament in the affected areas will get a mobile Starlink. All the mayors will get a mobile Starlink. And obviously, the leader of the opposition will get a mobile Starlink, and several others. We only have a few, 33 that we have distributed today, but we're hoping by end of week they will get. So the focus and emphasis is on those hardest hit parishes. Sorry, clarification. The mayors in the hardest hit parishes who do not have already Starlink, and the municipal corporations will get Starlink to operate as they are the emergency response. Municipal corporation is the emergency response for the parish. The Jamaica Defense Force and Jamaica Constabulary Force also have utilized Starlink to coordinate humanitarian logistical operations and provide missions. Finally, Starlink has also employed to restore cell services to some areas. I indicate the ATMs. We have gotten lists from the Jamaica Bankers Association. We're working with them through Starlink to connect the ATMs in those affected areas, and we expect to get at least 10 of them up this week. So we are ticking the boxes of all of the essential services that are going to be required. JPS, I leave that for the president of JPS to make a presentation. He made a presentation to Cabinet this morning, for which they will be called to come to Cabinet every week to give an update to Cabinet starting today, and also hopefully after today, when he speaks, the people of Jamaica will get more information flow on a regular basis on the recovery efforts of Starlink. We expect that, JPS, we expect that tomorrow hopefully will be the last flight by the JDF that I have arranged to give them a final look at the damage to the transmission lines. So hopefully, with that being done, we should be in a position to get a full assessment as the government, and then the people of Jamaica can start to get the answers that they are so anxious to hear, based on the frustration level of knowing that you live in a community that has minimal damage and yet still you don't have light. But it's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. It's based on the damage that has taken place. So I'll also ask the JPS to attend on press conferences held by the government to give updates ongoing until we know exactly where we are. Petrojam, important. The refinery sustained no major damage. As we know, it has adjusted its opening hours to 6 p.m. to allow refueling of tankers, trucks for distribution to Western Jamaica. And since Thursday, October 30th, over 400 tanker trucks have been loaded destined for all parts of Jamaica, including the hardest hit parishes. And as the roads are clear by the National Works Agency, the tanker drivers will transport the much needed resource. So there is no need to panic buy or store excess fuel. We have adequate fuel. Another one that is important is aviation fuel, because we have a lot of assets that are going to be traversing the skies, and we have more coming. So we have between 75 and 80% capacity across our international airports, and we are coordinating with our international partners such as Grey Bull Rescue and the Fuel Relief Fund to support distribution of energy, fuel for humanitarian efforts. Rubis has a total of 41 open service stations across the island, which is 82% of their network. 7 stations remain closed. 2 have a status to be confirmed, but due to communication challenges, so they also have put in extra staff and resources to reopen remaining stations and carry out maintenance in St. James. The Westgate service station is now open 24 hours a day to meet the demands. I had a meeting with them last week, and we have set up a system with the police and the National Works Agency to give them the coverage that they need to get through the traffic, and also to make sure that they are safe. Johnson's Petroleum networks remain stable and functional. No major infrastructure damage, and they also have stations and deliver fuel around the island. JUTC, 175 buses in service across Kingston Metropolitan and Portmore, and several more are being prepared for rural routes as the roadways open. JUTC has played a vital role in relief efforts, as we know, and they continue to work with the health workers, security forces, and emergency personnel. I will also indicate that we have taken a decision today to suspend the introduction of the rural school bus fares that were supposed to be implemented on November 1st at $50 per trip to the end of November in the first instance, as everybody has been affected by the storm, hurricane, in one way, shape, or form. Norman Manley International Airport, as we know, reopened less than 48 hours after the storm and continue to bring in significant relief flights and commercial flights. We had a record on Saturday, which outdid ordinary times, where we had 77 flights in one day. 30 of those were relief and 47 were commercial flights. So that is very, very good news. Montego Bay Airport opened back for commercial traffic on Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and had opened from Thursday for relief flights. The relief flights are coming in fast and furious, and there is no shortage of supplies in terms of getting supplies into Jamaica for distribution for humanitarian efforts in the relief. So I want to make that very clear. We are streamlining the processes. Prime Minister will speak tomorrow in Parliament. We are streamlining the processes to simplify them, to make sure that international donors and local donors and charities can get through quickly through the required processes at all levels to be able to distribute the well-needed relief items. The toll authority, the tolls were reimposed. The letter I signed this morning, so I suspect they will probably have been imposed already. And we wait to hear from the concessionaires as to what they will do for the people of Jamaica in terms of allowing them to traverse the east-west and north-south highway at hopefully significantly reduced fares, at least in the early stages. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to once again assure you that tomorrow, unfortunately, will be 1 week since the hurricane hit. Seems like 10 years, but the reality is tomorrow will be 1 week, which will be 6 days if you take out the day of the hurricane. And I want people to understand and reflect on that. And when you see what we are trying to do, despite the fact that we are having challenges, obviously, because nobody can prepare properly for a Category 5 hurricane at winds of in excess of 185 miles an hour in some areas. I want to say that we are committed, recommitted to continue to improve on the systems that we are taking good advice from our international charities in terms of how we can streamline and make it more seamless for not only the receipt but the distribution of hurricane relief items. And I want to say that, again, I ask for patience. I ask for the depoliticization of this process, because we need all Jamaica to be a part if we are going to be successful. I continue to ask for not only God's prayers and guidance, but patience of the people despite the challenges that they face and the suffering that they face. I assure you, on behalf of the government of Jamaica, help has started. It's not underway, it has started, and it will improve, and we expect that this week 2, will be significantly better than week 1, and every week thereafter will get better and better and better. All in the interest of the people of Jamaica. All of the people of Jamaica. God bless Jamaica.
Thank you, Minister. And thank you for those closing words. Yes, and at Cabinet, as Minister Vaz said, we had JPS come to give us an update. There were a lot of questions from the Cabinet members. Everybody was asking JPS, when will light come back in particular areas? And so the Cabinet got a briefing today, and you are going to get a condensed version of that briefing from JPS, because I know that's who you really want to be hearing from today. So, Mr. Hugh Grant, we invite you to give Jamaica your update.
Thank you, Minister. My heartfelt condolences to the people of Jamaica, our customers, for the lives lost, damage to property, and the dislocation that's happening out there. I had an opportunity to firsthand see the devastation that this record Category 5 hurricane has caused on the nation. Some of my very own employees have been working tirelessly in order to safely restore power. Some has not gotten a chance to go home. A story from one of my linemen said his wife got a seizure when the door and the window was blown off, but he has not gotten a chance to go home and be with her because of the nature of the roads, and he stands committed and is here serving to help to restore power. So I get it. I understand the inconvenience caused by the lack of power. I understand the frustration as some of my very employees are also affected. Let me reassure you, Jamaica, let me reassure you, my customers, that we here at JPS stand committed to work safely 24/7 to get the power restored. So how have we been doing? As of this morning, we restored 206,000 customers. At the time of the incident, we had 550,000 customers approximately out. So we moved from 77% of customers without service to a significant milestone of having just under 50% of customers without service. That is not by chance. It's as a result of our preparation in regards to the system, preparation of the people, and the strong response. I want to say a special thanks to all our partners, particularly my fellow utility providers, Flow, Digicel, the partnerships with the National Water Commission, and also the partnerships with the hospitals. One of the things we have been focused on is the restoration of critical facilities and focus the resources around that. We have made tremendous progress on that front, whereby we have currently 57% of our major hospitals now have power. That's as a result of us moving resources to the supply areas of those hospitals, doing the necessary damage assessment, and facilitating that restoration. Now, what does that look like? We got a call that the Black River Hospital was having some issues, and patients were evacuated to the Mandeville Hospital. And Mandeville Hospital has some issues with their generator. We then worked to get power into Mandeville Hospital, given how critical that was. And I'm pleased to share with you that that was achieved, and the Mandeville Hospital now has power. We committed to restoring power to Kingston and St. Andrew North and South, St. Catherine, Portmore, and St. Thomas, 90% by last night. I have some good news for you, my customers, my people. We have exceeded those restoration levels, whereby Kingston and St. Andrew are now at 95% restoration. Portmore is now at 95%. St. Thomas is at 95%, and St. Catherine is at 90%. So one may ask, where are some of the areas that are currently out? In St. Catherine, you have areas of Spanish Town, Geisel, Bogwalk, and Central Village that are currently out, and we are working 24/7 to have your power restored within the next 2 weeks. In Portmore, you have areas of Bridgeport, Gregory Park, Hellshire, Greater Portmore, Waterford that are out, and we are working 24/7 to have your power restored in 6 days. In KSA North, you have areas of Kingston 7, 9, 6, Kingston 8, 19, Mavis Bank, Garden Town, Golden Spring that are out. Also, some areas in Content Gap. And we are working 24/7 to have your power restored within the next 14 days. And the areas in St. Thomas that are out, Golden Grove, Hagley Grove, Morant Bay, Cedar Valley, that's the 5%. We're working to have your power restored within 10 days. And KSA South, Kingston 11, Kingston 10, 13, Kingston 1, 2, and also some areas in Bull Bay, we're working to have your power restored in 3 days. We're working 24/7 to have your power restored. Now, in order for your power to restore, we need to do our damage assessment. A critical component, as Minister Vaz said, is the reality that the high voltage transmission lines, which are the backbone of the system, more than 70% are out of power due to the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa. I had a chance to do a helicopter patrol, and our steel lattice structure, which is one of our more hardened facilities, was twisted and on the ground just due to this devastation. But we were working to do damage assessment. Once the damage assessments are completed, we will then be able to give you more clearly what are estimated times of restoration. We stand committed to keep you updated. We understand the inconvenience, and help is on the way. We have now pulled the trigger to bring in an additional 100 line workers based on our retainer contracts with companies in North America, from Canada and from the USA, and those 100 overseas line workers are expected to be here by the end of the week. We also are bringing in additional equipment because our local resources in terms of bucket trucks and pole digger trucks are exhausted. So we're bringing in on barges additional bucket trucks, more than 50 bucket trucks, more than 10 digger trucks, so that when the workers come in, they have the equipment required so that they can safely and optimally restore customers. I stand committed to let you know and to give you hope that we will get through this through strong partnerships, through strong collaboration, and you have my commitment that I'll continue to keep you informed of our progress. Be safe and be well, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thanks to JPS. There were some encouraging numbers today. I think the one that was very encouraging was usually in a hurricane after, especially a category 5, the entire country would go down. But this time, right after the hurricane and during the passage, 20% of their customers still maintained electricity. So that's definitely an improvement over last year. But obviously, everybody wants to know when they will get their electricity back. We've heard that they're doing damage assessments. Minister Vaz is working with them every single day asking for updates, and we should be hearing somewhere in another week. As you hear, they will be coming to cabinet every week to discuss where they are with getting back electricity. It is a priority of this country. The entire country needs to get electricity back. All right, now that we're on utilities, the other big one is water. And I'm going to ask our Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change, the Honorable Matthew Samuda, to now come and give his update.
Thank you, Minister Dixon. Good afternoon, colleagues, cabinet ministers, heads of agencies, permanent secretaries, members of utilities, members of the media, certainly those listening and watching at home. The NWC systems have been severely impacted by passage of Hurricane Melissa. The primary issues that we face impacting water supply at this stage in many areas include high turbidity, internal electromechanical issues, external power supply outages, and infrastructure damage. We can report, if this will oblige, that the situation as it stands now, we've had 631 systems disrupted, with 132 systems currently active, giving you the grand total of 763. However, this is to be understood in the context that the systems that we have brought up and ensured are active at this stage in line with priority are your largest systems. So this map would show an idea of where there is particular disruption, obviously disproportionately to the west, the red dots being the disrupted systems, the green dots being the ones which are currently active. Now, that would give a particular view in terms of the level of damage and the level of disruption. But you juxtapose that against the fact that 65% of the NWC's customers have actually been restored, because the systems that have been brought back into activity are indeed our largest systems. So for instance, we can report that the Constant Spring system, which feeds from the Hermitage Dam, has indeed been restored and is operating from JPS power. We can report the same for the Mona and Hope systems, which obviously move the numbers significantly. Now, I will take the time to go pretty much in a circle around the country just to give some information so that those here have a feel of exactly where we are and what we're likely to see by way of customers coming back on stream over the next 3 days. We are currently operating from the Tullow Springs, which the Tullow Springs system contemplates wells and water sources all the way to Bybrook in Linstead. That is the corridor that supplies southern St. Andrew, Portmore, and the majority of St. Catherine. We're operating at around 30%. We're working very closely with the JPS. We would have completed clearing the roadways to our pumping facilities yesterday, and we expect that this system will be connected to JPS this evening, which will bring back over 80% of customers in St. Catherine. There is some disruption, and I'll just briefly get on to St. Thomas. There is some disruption in many of your small systems in St. Thomas because the rivers are in spate and there is a fair amount of turbidity. But we are happy to report that the largest system, which in Morant Bay, which is a Springfield system, is indeed operating using one of our generators, and we continue to bring on the small systems. Now, one thing before I move on to the other parishes, it's important to note that the majority of your customers, in line with the population distribution, are indeed living on the plains that go right around the coast. So when you bring on those large systems on the flat, you're able to bring on a lot of people very fast. One thing that is consistent, and as I just give you a glance back at the graphics, and I need people to understand that that many of the systems that have come back on stream are indeed the ones that are able to gravity feed water to the plains. Anywhere there's need for a lift station where there's no energy, those particular pumps as a sub-part of a system are not yet up. To understand, as we move further west, in South Clarendon, one of your largest systems is the Kemps Hill system. That is currently down, but we are working with the JPS and we expect to have that back up this evening. That will have significant positive impact in communities like Rocky Point, Minister Charles, and we expect that to happen as at this evening, further moving us toward our goals. The entire northern Clarendon belt is out, both because of turbidity and because of energy source. In Manchester, we are almost at total outage, except for the porous and broadleaf to content system. This was brought up as a matter of urgency in partnership with NWC and JPS to ensure that the Mandeville Hospital is indeed being served by 24-hour water. The gutters and pepper system, which, yes, though in St. Elizabeth do serve the majority of Manchester, are indeed down, and there's simply no generator large enough to facilitate those pumps. We are in the process of actually procuring one as a part of our resilience building strategy. We started that process after Hurricane Beryl, but that is down, and that will require JPS's systems. We're working with them and we're helping them to clear the roads along the line and the pathways that allow for those connections. The two major systems in northern Manchester, this being a geographic region which affects has some impact in Trelawney and Western Clarendon, are also both down awaiting power. But we are able to report that the old Pepperwell, which serves from Goshen to Santa Cruz, is running on generator. It is running in 8-hour increments, and it is serving that entire corridor. So they're getting between 16 and 20 hours of water between Goshen and Santa Cruz currently. In Luana, as we move further west, we would have installed a generator 2 days ago. They're now getting 8-hour increments of water, getting between 18 and 20 hours of water in that area. In Darlin Toba, which is a critical one because that's what facilitates service to the Black River Hospital, a generator is currently being installed on site, and that will restore water supply to the community and town of Black River. But more important, well, particularly important, is to the hospital as well as to the stations for the emergency crews that are operating in that space, as well as a police station, etc. As you move into Westmoreland and Hanover, and there is a fair bit of integration between systems, we are also happy to report that the Logwood system, which is in Hanover, but services all the way to Negril, that has been operating and continued to operate right throughout the storm. So Negril actually has water and has had water pretty much through the duration of the disaster. The hilly communities along that corridor are obviously not being served because we don't have power to those lift stations. Bluefields is indeed in operation, having worked with JPS to bring that system back on. So Bluefields to White House, we can also report that they currently have water supply, certainly along the plains. The Roaring River, which serves Sav and indeed Darliston, is out, but we are working to, we are serving the Noel Holmes Hospital, which is also served by this system by trucking, and we're monitoring it very closely in collaboration with the Ministry of Health. Now, as you move around to the north coast, This is where we've had a particularly unfortunate level of damage. So if you understand from Lucy to Martha Brae, and if you think of the geography in that area, it's served primarily by two major systems. This is the Great River system, which is very close to the boundary of Hanover and St. James, and the Martha Brae system. In the case of the Great River system, the intake pipes were washed away during the storm, creating significant damage to the plant. And we are, obviously hampered with returning supply because of this. However, we are happy to update that contractors have been on site now for some 36 hours. Their crews working 24 hours a day. We are targeting restoration, temporary restoration, because we'll have to do a more permanent fix after, but we're targeting temporary restoration by Friday midnight. So we are expecting to restore the Great River system by Friday midnight. This is in collaboration with JPS, but we also wish to advise that coming post-burial, we had put in place redundancy there, so that plant can be run fully by generator as well. So once the intake pipe construction is indeed complete, we'll be able to restore that, which will have a significantly positive effect on everything from Lucy pretty much to central St. James. As it relates to the Martha Brae system, the Martha Brae system is actually up and can provide between 15 and 20 million gallons of water a day. However, in the area of Lilliput, in the vicinity of Lilliput, with the road collapsing and the sea level rise in that area, it would have displaced pipes significantly. So there is a break in the line, and anyone who has followed the stories of the breaks in that line, which is why we have the Western Water Resilience Project, which is under contract and has been mobilized, and the work has indeed started. But that line break has caused a significant disruption in the supply from Lilliput to Terminal Reservoir, which is pretty much the entire eastern side of St. James. That work would have commenced this morning and will run in 24-hour shifts. We are targeting completion by Thursday morning. That would restore water in the interim to all of St. James for at least 8 hours a day, because we will send the water further than we usually do from Terminal Reservoir going further west until the Great River system comes up on the weekend as well. That will move us much further from, certainly from the 65% of customers that are connected now, hopefully in the range of 80%, especially with what we're doing with Tulloch Springs, which will bring on St. Catherine, and certainly the work that's happening in Clarendon. Now, that's not meant to diminish anyone who is not in the 80% who is waiting on water, and we are working with JPS on many other systems. The impact in Trelawney, certainly southern Trelawney, which is very hilly terrain, they are facing almost total outage at this time, and we are working to restore their particular pumps with JPS. As you move further east into St. Anne's, into St. Anne, we have procured the services of a generator that will run the Minard wells. That will manage pretty much most of the western side of St. Anne, which is a pretty important system. It serves approximately 30,000 customers. Though that generator is actually en route to St. Anne now, we have completed clearing the road into the Minard wells, which was significantly blocked with the help of NWA rather, and we expect to have that installed sometime tonight for water to come from that area. The Bogue system, which, yes, there's more than one Bogue in Jamaica, for those who are not aware. The Bogue system in St. Anne is immediately above Duns River. That system is indeed operational and has been operational since Thursday of last week after we brought it up. It is a significant system. It means that everything from Runaway Bay to Port Maria on the plains that doesn't require a lift station currently has water. And that is something that we're happy to report. Your major systems in St. Mary, in Agawata Vale, and indeed Itabaral. Itabaral is a particularly important one because it serves not just sections of St. Mary, southeast St. Mary. It stretches as far as Buff Bay in Portland. So that is a particularly important one. We have generators en route to the Itabaral system, and we're working very closely with JPS to bring the Agawata Vale system up, which would stabilize central St. Mary. And I'm using geographic terms here today, not political constituencies. As you move into the eastern end of the island, the disruptions of power are indeed significant, but we do have 3 generators which we expect to be deployed by close of business tomorrow in Portland, including in Port Antonio, which will stabilize the townships of Portland tomorrow. Now that's a general overview of where we are. We have, and I will give you the update, we have currently over 43 major generators running, and we have some 40 that are being deployed over the next 72 hours based on the assessments and the state of particular pumping stations. Now we've made the decision, certainly, even where generators would have been installed at particular treatment plants with the intention of them being permanent, that certainly once JPS assures us that an area is stable, we will uninstall if we must and move them further west to significantly improve the water supply situation for public health and sanitation in the worst affected parishes. I do want to bring a few other matters to your attention. As it relates to trucking, we have put in place a few steps that we believe will help with getting water to those who are most affected and least likely to see the return of water fastest. The first is that we're running generators at all of our loading bays that are affected by power supply. That means where there are generators, we're able to fill trucks 18 hours a day. Where we're connected to JPS, we're filling 24 hours a day. We have suspended charging private truck owners who do access these loading bays to ensure that everyone is able to get water as quickly as is possible. We have gone further. We have engaged in excess of 100 private trucks that are working with NWC's fleet of 32, and we're doing our best to serve the communities that are most affected. This afternoon, members of Parliament will all receive a letter from my office with allocations for trucking. Where they are able to find private trucks, they will be able to engage them to ensure that their most affected communities or least likely to be restored fast, they're able to respond to. These allocations will be between $1 and $2 million, depending on the level of disruption in their respective areas. We're also ensuring that at treatment plants in the affected treatment plants and pump houses in the affected areas that have power and that are operating, we're putting in a host of temporary standpipes for those who can get to those areas to fill containers to be able to get water. These will obviously be temporary, but certainly, for instance, in the case of a plant like Martha Bray, we'll put in 100 filling stations so that those who are in the hilly interior but within driving distance can come and get water for the reprieve that they need. We are working actively also with the team at the Ministry of Water, and indeed with suppliers. We intend to increase on an emergency basis our fleet of trucks to continue to serve the public better during this challenging time. But we are working very closely with JPS. We do remain open to suggestion. We remain open to your prayers, and we are working to ensure that we get to 80% by this weekend of customers. And we are going to work around the clock to move from 80 to 100%. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You heard that, 80% by this weekend. And you saw the numbers for Westmoreland, 35.7%, where, Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth are really ground zero, and they are getting water back. I mean, we have to thank NWC Minister Samuda. You've been doing a lot of work, and I hear you talking about all of those subsystems and knowing all of them so intimately. You're really good at what you're doing, and so thank you, Minister. Thank you to the entire NWC team. I know Jamaica is grateful. We can do without a lot of things, but we can't do without water, and so thank you. All right, up next, we have Minister Morgan, Robert Nesta Morgan, our minister that is responsible for works, to come and talk about the work that's being done to clear the roads and get us access to those people who are currently marooned. Minister Morgan.
Thank you very much, my sister, Dr. Dana Morris Dixon. Thanks to members of the public service, the private sector, members of the media. I see we have a very healthy turnout. Hi, Dion. It's good to see you at the OPM press briefing. Haven't seen you in a while, but thank you very much for coming. I want to give a update on the work that we've been doing regarding the clearing of roads, and just general updates as to what we're doing to provide access to the various disaster areas. And as usual, take your questions as it relates to the issues that have been raised in the press conference. So in my last updates, I would have told you that one of our priorities, or at least our main priority, is to provide a corridor for persons to be able to bring relief supplies, especially to the western parishes that have been severely impacted. We have been extremely successful in creating that corridor. We now have a good corridor from the border of St. Elizabeth all the way to Savannah-la-Mar, and we have a corridor from St. James coming through St. Anne Trelawney all the way to Savannah-la-Mar on the other side. The challenge, however, is that we created single-lane access initially, but the quantity of vehicles almost tripled within a day, and which is understandable. There are many persons who have loved ones in the region. There are persons who have recognized the disaster that took place and wanted to assist persons in the area. What that resulted in is significant traffic jams, especially in areas such as the Bogwalk Gorge and sections of Westmoreland, particularly in the Ferris area. We then decided that we had to expand the corridor a bit to create more two-lane access. And that's something that we were able to some extent do over the last 2 days. We also had to work hard to ensure that heavy-duty trucks, such as gas trucks and oil tankers, are able to traverse the entire corridor. And yesterday we completed removing several impediments which would have prevented those heavy units from traversing the area. That corridor is not the only corridor. Work continues in sections of Trelawney, sections of St. James, sections of Manchester, and other areas that have been impacted, and areas across the rest of the island, such as Clarendon and other parishes, St. Thomas, Portland, St. Mary, which would have had challenges due to rain, wind, landslides, and so on. So to give you an update on the main corridors that have been opened so far, Ocho to Port Antonio to Morant Bay to Kingston to Aguata Vale via the Junction Road, Mandeville to Santa Cruz to Black River to White House, as I said, White House to Savannah-la-Mar to Negril, Savannah-la-Mar to Montego Bay, and Montego Bay to Ocho Rios. I would have driven that entire corridor from from Kingston to Ocho Rios yesterday, ending last night, and it is drivable. We also drove through the Hanover section. So you have two sections. You have the Negril section, you have the Hanover side that goes through Long Lane. Those two corridors are drivable. The one through Hanover Hills is a bit Long Hill. Grange Hill, sorry. It's I've drove on so many roads, I don't remember the names. That one is a bit challenging for heavy-duty trucks, but small units can manage it. We have also cleared Vauxhall to Arcadia. Well, no, my apologies. I am now listing where works are actively being done. Vauxhall to Arcadia, which is flooded. Mountainside to Malvern, which is severed, which means it's cut off. Balaclava to Keysham, which we are now assessing to start work, as well as Aberdeen to Quickstep, we're assessing. There is some damage on Hodges to Speculation. We're removing fallen trees as we speak in Newton to Magotty. There's flooding on Siloa to Magotty. Knoxwood to Burn Savannah is also flooded. And in Manchester, we have several flooded roads, which we have to wait until the flooding recedes. And that's Alligator Pond to Guts River, Williamsfield to Mile Gully, and Newley Road is also flooded. and there are landslides still to be cleared. Dump to Moravia, Christiana to Ashton. We have some challenges in the St. Andrew area as well. Guava Ridge to Mahogany Vale. We have a damaged ford and some landslides that need to be addressed, and we're addressing landslides in Red Light to Hardware Gap, Bull Bay to Blacksboro, and in St. Catherine, we're addressing landslides in Sport Park to Post Road, Bartons to Ginger Ridge. We have a peculiar issue in Spanish Town to Bogwalk, where there are some pole lines that are on the ground, and we had closed the roads, and we're approaching the police because there are persons who have removed the closure and are seeking to extort motorists. So that is something that we have to address. There are several other updates that we will be publishing. Most of the challenges that we face in terms of opening roads is flooding, significant landslides, and in some cases, falling trees. We are working with the Jamaica Public Service Company. We have worked out an arrangement where on a daily basis we are engaged with them in a meeting where we are clearing and there are JPS poles. We work together to remove those poles or relocate them. So one of the issues that, and I want to remind persons, is that if you don't have any business in the western end of the island, please do not go. The traffic pileup is actually creating a risk to persons' lives. Our inability to efficiently transport relief supplies to the region because of persons coming out of their vehicle and sightseeing and doing selfies, as we saw over the last several days, is creating a significant traffic pileup. And if there is blockage in, let's say, Holland Bamboo, then the relief trucks cannot come out. So those are just some of the updates that we want to give. Last thing I want to say is that we have over 100 contractors and equipment owners and operators in this effort, stretching all across the region from sections of St. Anne going all the way to St. Elizabeth. I'll focus on that area because that's the main corridor or the main area of problems. But we also have challenges in other parishes too. We have challenges in sections of Portland, St. Thomas, where we do have the National Works Agency. I see Mr. Vaz looking at me. Yes, Mr. Vaz, I remember. We are working, the NWA is working in other parishes, and pretty much every parish, because the rain event did impact every parish and did cause landslides. The bridge, what's the name of the bridge again, Darrell, that we're building? Craig Mill. We have a fording in Craig Mill that was washed out, which created a challenge for persons to leave. And that is in the eastern side of the island, not where the hurricane fell. So we do have teams all across the island and NWA representatives all across the island doing work. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And that's my update for today.
All right, thank you. As you heard it, there's work happening all over the country. The entire country was affected, and there's a lot of road work that's going on. And again, we thank the NWA team. I saw you all out there doing your work. You're out there until late in the night, and all of the contractors working with you. We're very grateful for that work. All right, now we are going to be hearing from our Minister of Labor and Social Security, the Honorable Pernell Charles Jr. is going to be coming to speak about the relief effort, because his ministry is really central to that, working with our social workers and our donors. And so, Minister, we want to hear a lot from you.
Thank you.
But Minister Mackenzie said it had to be quick.
Yes, very quick. Thank you, Minister. I was to be on the road today and you corralled me to be here. It's important to report. I'll be very quick, just saying good afternoon to everyone, colleague ministers. This hurricane has tested our nation in ways that we could not have imagined. Being on the ground, walking with the team, you get to truly understand that we have communities completely cut off. We have houses that have been swallowed up. We have lives that have been uprooted in several parishes. And we've seen and we feel the heartbreak of the families and the people that are trapped, those that are hungry, those that are uncertain. But I want them to be assured that we are working assiduously with all of our partners to provide relief as quickly as possible. Yesterday, the brave men and women of the Jamaica Defense Force, supported by our international partners, risked their life to carry out our evacuation missions, rescuing sick and those that are stranded in about 4 areas across the affected zones. And we continue that today with airlifts that have now been activated, rescuing stranded, but also providing now today the drop-off of packages, well-needed packages to those areas that are completely cut off. Now, I want to just acknowledge the tireless work of those who are volunteering, several of whom are coming from all over the country, some not connected in any familial way, but just understanding the impact of this mission and joining in with our parish officers, our social workers, the JDF, the JCF, the fire brigade, to provide support, to provide comfort, and just to share a meal. It's not going to be easy recovering, and I want to report that we still have about, so far, the report is that we have 25 communities that are marooned, and several families that have lost everything. I mean everything. We are coordinating with every available resource. We are working as a lead of the Humanitarian Assistance Committee. I want to acknowledge the CEO of Food for the Poor, who is here on the island, our representatives from the World Food Program, and others, GEM and others who are working with us to get food, water, medicine, and shelter to those who need it the most. We're utilizing our Bell 429 helicopters. We're also using the Chinooks helicopters brought in and Black Hawk helicopters brought in by our partners in the US. And those are assisting us to provide a lifeline to the several Jamaicans that remain stranded through the evacuation process, as well as the packages that are dropped off from the skies while they are on the ground. And we have teams on the ground simultaneously providing ground support. So our JDF team is not only doing airlift, but where we can't go, they go. They venture out in ground operations and have done more than 17 communities between yesterday and today. I want to also indicate that so far, together, we have distributed more than 30,000 food packages and several other hundreds of relief in terms of tarpaulins, water, and other relief supplies. We are collaborating with the private sector, faith-based organizations, government agencies, to ensure that we can ramp up and move now into the next phase, which is beyond just providing the immediate rapid response to now a more strategic and calculated design of a distribution model that will see us supplying exactly what is needed to specific and strategic areas. So it's no more just food package, but for instance, in Catherine Hall and St. James, they may have food packages or still need food packages, but what they need now, based on observation, is cleaning supplies, and as simple as clean drinking water and water to help in cleaning out the homes. So we assess and we analyze, we continue to work with the JDF. We have now received the communication support through Starlink, and that will be placed in all of our parish offices to improve the network of communication, as well as Minister Morris Dixon setting up, as part of our Humanitarian Assistance Committee, support coordination cells in every parish that will see us working as a team to do the distribution. There's much more, but I know that there's a lot that has to be said. So this is just the preliminary information, Minister. We will come with more details later on in the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. And I know that's an area that many people are asking about, is the food getting to those who need it? And Minister is speaking about how the systems have been refined to make it easier. And you heard there are 3 different avenues of helicopters. One is the JDF helicopters. The second one are the ones that came from the US government. And then the third one, some of our NGOs like World Central Kitchen, they have their own helicopters that they're using to distribute food. So that's a good thing, and we're getting into more of the marooned areas. I know Minister Charles spent a lot of time today getting information from the field in terms of what are the marooned communities and getting them geolocated so that the various helicopter teams can get to people. So we're working, and he is working very hard at mobilizing and getting that system refined even further. All right, so I think I'm on to Minister Mackenzie before our grand crescendo with Minister Grange. So Minister Mackenzie, our co-chair of our subcommittee on our recovery and relief efforts. Minister Mackenzie.
Thank you, Minister. Let me just make way for the grand lady. That's what you call her. All right, I just have a couple updates I want to give this afternoon, which is important as we continue the recovery efforts. As of today, only a total of 186 shelters remain open across 12 parishes, and there are approximately 2,500 persons within our shelters as I speak. I just want to spend 5 minutes on the issue surrounding the municipal corporations across the country. As you all know, that 7 of the municipalities have been severely affected by the passage of the hurricane, and none of these municipalities have anywhere to conduct administrative activities. We are now making arrangements. We have found a location in St. Elizabeth, and I will be engaging the mayors and other stakeholders to discuss relocation for the remaining municipal corporations. One of the challenges we face also is that a number of staff in these municipalities have their own personal issues, so they can't participate in the recovery exercise. So I'm pleased to announce that the municipalities that has not been affected have now moved into those parishes. A team from KSA has gone into St. Elizabeth, and we are moving teams from Portmore, St. Catherine, St. Thomas, and other communities to cover areas in Western Jamaica that has been severely affected by the passage of the hurricane. I must also make the point that the revenues of the municipal corporation has been severely affected by the passage of the hurricane. And as I speak, at least 30% of our markets have been damaged, some destroyed. I was in Black River on Saturday, and I saw the destruction to a market that is not even 6 years old. It was under our administration that we did extensive repairs to the market. Must also speak about the role of the Jamaica Fire Brigade in this exercise. And so far they have responded to over some 500 calls right across the country. And they're a part of the team that is responsible for the clearing of roads and the necessary things. But the last thing I want to say is that later this week I'll be announcing in detail the full rollout of a national cleanup campaign for the country. This cleanup exercise will include the National Works Agency, TPDCO, the Ministry of Education, and it will be led by the National Solid Waste Management Authority. The purpose of the cleanup, ladies and gentlemen, is for Jamaicans to participate in this national cleanup exercise that will take place right across the country in every communities. The Social Development Commission will be responsible for coordinating community activities throughout. And this will be a call for national duty, for national response. The country will require the full support, the full participation of all Jamaicans in this exercise. And as I said before, I will give further details on this exercise, because a part of any recovery must be keeping our cities, our towns, and our communities clean. I saw some sites on Saturday which I cried inside, because I was in St. Elizabeth even 5 weeks prior to the hurricane, and what I saw was devastating. But this is the time when all of Jamaica, and I'm going to be reaching out today, my opposition counter spokesperson, to invite her to the meeting to discuss the cleanup exercise, because we are taking a national approach to the cleanup exercise. Those are my brief comments this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. You know, I was hoping you were going to continue and I'd get a chance to come up here and stand up, because I've seen you do that so many times and I wanted to be able to do it to you, but you didn't give me that pleasure. All right. I think where you left Minister Mackenzie on the matter of a national cleanup is really the perfect time for Minister Grange. There have been so many people saying, I want to help, I want to volunteer. And we have a solution, and that solution has been provided by Minister Grange and some wonderful young people. And so please welcome the Honorable Babsy Grange to give you some information on what she has been working on, which is really quite exciting. Minister Grange, it's good to see you and have you here. I keep having the men in the cabinet. It's nice to have a woman beside me.
Thank you, Minister. Colleague ministers, ministry officials, and media. As the days go by, we get a clearer picture of the magnitude of the devastation that Hurricane Melissa brought into our lives. We remember and pray for those lost in and those who have been affected by the hurricane across the country. We commiserate with you in this moment of great pain and destruction. Please be assured that the entire country, the diaspora, our neighbors and friends are standing with you. We face a long and challenging road ahead, but we will recover and rebuild stronger by supporting those who have been affected and working together. We thank and applaud everyone who has been doing something to help. Your contribution, even if you think it's small and insignificant, will make a tremendous difference. We have been taught that every act of kindness, care, and compassion makes a difference. And yet we know that there are still many, many Jamaicans who want to help, who want to be a part of this national effort. And we need you to know that is why we are now launching today the National Registry of Volunteers on the Support Jamaica portal, supportjamaica.gov.jm. This registry has now been launched, and provides a safe and simple way for you to get involved. Through this registry, you will be able to tell us when you're available to help, what your skills are, as well as what type of assistance you would like to give. Perhaps who wish to assist with food distribution or shelter operations or medical support. Maybe you want to help with cleanup or counseling, transport or administration, whatever your skills are, however you want to help. Just tell us when you sign up to the registry. And I'm appealing to Jamaicans here in Jamaica and in the diaspora to sign up on this registry. Based on when you are available and based on the type of volunteer work that you would like to provide, we will contact you. We will brief, equip, and deploy you in an efficient and coordinated way. And I should mention here that the CVSS and other NGOs have been invited to sign up on this portal, so we'll have a joined up, seamless approach. We will reduce or eliminate duplication and ensure that we get help to those affected by the hurricane. So today, I really make this appeal for everyone to chip in. Volunteer your time, your skills, your compassion, and your care to this important national effort. We're calling on companies, we're calling on the churches and youth groups, clubs, associations, everyone. If there was ever a time when we needed all hands on deck, it is now. So I want you to log on to supportjamaica.gov.jm. Click on Volunteer for Hurricane Melissa and complete the short registration form. It's as simple as that to join the registry of volunteers and get involved. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to turn to the I Love Jamaica fundraising concert series. The magnitude of the devastation is unprecedented in our history. That means that we have to move quickly to secure as many resources as we can to provide the relief that is needed right now. We have launched a fundraising initiative dubbed I Love Jamaica towards providing much needed additional resources to support the National Relief Program. The government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, will be partnering with the entertainment industry in Jamaica and overseas to stage a series of fundraising entertainment events to raise funds for Hurricane Melissa Relief Fund. The target is $1 million initially. Discussions are underway to stage US dollars, $1 million US dollars. Initially, discussions are underway to stage events as follows. In Kingston, we had initially announced a concert to be staged in the stadium car park and mass camp, but we're now doing a virtual concert and telethon on Sunday, November 16, 3:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., and this will be broadcast out of the CPTC studios. A number of artists have been confirmed, including Chris Martin, Massacre, Najee Boy, and a number of others. We'll announce those later this week. A number of Jamaican artists and artists based overseas, non-Jamaicans, have reached out to us, and they are working out details as to their participation in live concerts in the diaspora or doing endorsement drops to motivate and encourage Jamaicans, etc. In London, we are doing 2 concerts. Thursday, November 13, 7 p.m. to midnight, we are doing a concert of Coco at Coco. And the proposed lineup here is Dizzy Rascal. And for those who don't know, Dizzy Rascal is a major act out of the UK. It will also include David Rodigan and a number of other artists. Wembley Arena has been booked for Thursday, December the 18th, and that event will run from 7 p.m. to midnight, and the proposed lineup will be announced shortly. In South Florida, Sunday, December 7, a concert will be staged at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And on the same day, there will be a concert at Miramar Regional Park, a lineup to be announced for those. We are also organizing concerts in New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C. Other communities have reached out to us, and we are in advanced discussions. I Love Jamaica will feature performances by some of Jamaica's leading artists, as well as appeals by some of our country's most recognizable and influential personalities who will receive donations and pledges during the telethon. The CPL has been in touch with us, and Chris Gale will be the face of their campaign, which will be overseas. So, in this regard, we have invited our former Prime Ministers, P.J. Patterson and Bruce Golding, as well as leaders in various sectors, to assist with the relief and recovery effort. And my responsibility is to coordinate with these eminent figures in Jamaica to ensure that there is communication. I must thank members of the entertainment and sports fraternities for their response so far. I remain grateful that we as a country can always rely on our artists or creatives or sportsmen and sportswomen in times of crisis. And I'm really grateful for the way they have been responding to our invitation to participate in this national effort. I now wish to announce that the Red Cross Jamaica will be partnering with the Jamaica Football Federation and the ministry in coordinating and accepting cash donations at the Reggae Boys versus Curacao FIFA World Cup qualification football match at the National Stadium on November the 18th. And the president of CONCACAF will be here for the match. This is one way that the Reggae Boys are assisting with this effort. We continue discussions with our national teams about how they wish to help. We have also been able to rely on our churches and our faith-based organizations. They have traditionally played a significant role in times of crisis, providing comfort and guidance. We have called on the churches, and they have responded like they always do. So I announce today that Bishop, the Honorable Dr. Hera Blair, has been appointed the National Coordinator of our religious and faith-based organizations team to engage and coordinate relief efforts with all religious and faith-based groups, including the Rastafarians, the Revivalists, the Muslim, the Hindus, the Baha'i, and others. I also wish to use the opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Bishop Blair and Bishop Bengucci, who will be later on blessing us before we end this press conference. I will be meeting with Umbrella Heads on Tuesday morning to plan with them the way forward. There is much to do, and we are pleased with the response so far. We will get over this, ladies and gentlemen. We will recover and rebuild better than before. I also want to mention here that the South Florida Hard Rock Stadium event on Sunday, December 7 in Miami will be led by Shaggy. and further details will be announced. I want to thank you all for being there to give support and exposure to what we are doing, and to say that all is welcome, including the media, to volunteer. You get into spaces where people are saying, we don't see anybody. Once you're going there, we're asking you to also volunteer to be a part of this effort. Thank you so much. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much. Very much. I told you it was going to be a grand crescendo, and it was. And I thank you so much, Minister, for being here and the work you and the team have been doing to mobilize different communities, the church, the entertainers, the sports stars. Everybody is a part of it. And then having that volunteer program on supportjamaica.gov.jm. If you want to volunteer, and I know many do, please go and register so that you can be selected to support around the country. All right, we're on to questions, and I see one hand up from before, before we opened. Oh, you're gonna, okay, he's yielding.
Yes.
You're
Sorry.
yielding? Okay, all right, he's yielding to
All right.
Dion. It
Before
is
we-
so good.
Yes. Before we get to Ms. Jackson, just a reminder, once you ask your questions, the camera operators are asking that you remain standing until your questions have been addressed.
Okay.
Thank you, Dion Jackson, TVJ. Minister, billions of dollars are going to be coming in terms of relief. Why have we not yet heard the announcement of an independent oversight committee to include, for instance, private sector, civil society, and opposition members to monitor the expenditure that is going to be done along with regular reporting to Parliament? What we don't want is an Auditor General's report 6 months after the fact.
Whoopsie.
I have a whole heap of questions. I'll just ask a couple and yield to my colleagues.
Sure. All right, please
May I
continue.
continue?
Give me two more. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, second, I've been hearing everything that's been said. However, the national response, the immediate national response, has been slow and inadequate. The government has been acting as if it didn't know the kind of damage that a Cat 5 would have done. Why have we not seen immediate deployments of mass aid to the affected communities, along with things like immediate erection of warehouses to hold such aid, immediate erection of mass shelters and or evacuations? And then finally, for now, why had we not seen an equivalent in-time response to Westmoreland as there was to St. Elizabeth, seeing that that was where the eye of the hurricane made landfall? So it was obvious that there would also have been catastrophic damage there.
All right, thank you. Those are three questions. And Dion, it's good to have you here. Not used to having you at my press briefings, but I'm glad to have you. And those are questions you hear floating around, and I'm glad that we get a chance to answer them. You asked about a committee with the funds that are coming in. Yes, we're going to get some insurance payments from CRIF and some of the other policies that we have. I think tomorrow you need to listen out for the Prime Minister's announcements. There will be a body that will be overseeing that reconstruction work. That will happen, and the Prime Minister will name the members of that. There has been discussions, even with the leader of the opposition, about whether or not that could be the National Partnership Council. Because remember, we have a National Partnership Council that has the opposition there, that has civil society, has academia, has private sector there. So it's a broad group of individuals that are in that partnership council. So one consideration is to use that partnership council that already exists with all of the key players and partners as that mechanism at the top. And it's going to be broader than just looking at how the funds are being paid. That committee is the one that's going to have to say, how do we build back? You know, we have communities that are close to the sea. What does rebuilding look like? Should we rebuild there? Should we rebuild somewhere else? And so there are big questions that we have to confront with as Jamaica. And the commitment the Prime Minister has made is that there will be an overarching body, whether you use an existing mechanism like the Partnership Council, or you use something that's new, a new body, but there will be an oversight body. Now, I left Cabinet early before it finished, not sure where they would have reached on it, but there has been discussions already in Cabinet on that one. The second one is about the immediate response being slow. I know Minister Vaz wants to answer, but so you can come forward, Minister Vaz. But as you come, just noting that a Cat 5 is a different category of a hurricane, and the devastation was significant. And as we've seen with many disasters around the world, and we've been looking at disasters around the world, how quickly you get to mobilize. There is always that period of assessing what is happening and getting the aid in. Yesterday, I saw Red Cross, I saw GEM, I saw the World Food Program out, and all of those are coordinated through the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. And so there is a lot more happening, and you hear about the helicopters dropping food. It is, after a hurricane like that, you have to assess and then reestablish new systems to get food out. And I think the team has been doing that. I know Minister Vaz can tell you more about what has happened. And in terms of Westmoreland, everybody is important and everybody is being focused on. The Prime Minister went out for 2 days straight and he went to all of the affected parishes. He went to St. Elizabeth, he went to Westmoreland, he went to Trelawney, he went to St. James, and he also eventually went to Manchester, and he went to Hanover too. So those first 2 days after the hurricane, the Prime Minister made sure to go to all of the most affected parishes. Minister Vaz.
So I'll answer one aspect of it, and Minister Mackenzie will answer the other. There is a committee that has been named with Senator Keith Duncan and Minister Audrey Marks to coordinate with private sector. That has been going on in earnest. We met all weekend. There is warehouse spacing that has been found in Montego Bay. There's warehouse spacing that has been found outside of what the government apparatus has. I would say we are probably up to 300,000 square feet of additional warehousing that is going to be needed, because we're going to be staging from Montego Bay and Kingston, because that's where the two international airports are. I want to remind you who asked the question, and I want to remind Jamaica, tomorrow will be 6 days, because the hurricane hit on a Tuesday. So 6 days is where we are at now.